All right, and we are live. Welcome to the
live.
Oh, what's up, Prestige Worldwide? Prestige Worldwide. Welcome to the show. This is Austin. How you doing, brother? Austin, did I lose you already?
No, freaking! I had the YouTube going, and I was like, "Wait, what's going on in the background?"
So be patient with us here, guys. We are working out all the kinks on our live show. What we're going to be doing today, thanks for joining us. We're going to be going through some news and notes from around the league. Lots of different things that are going on. Man, big-time trades, you name it. Big-time injuries, new people coming in. And what we're going to do is we're going to boil that down for what that means for DFS this week. FanDuel, DraftKings, Draft, all that stuff's out there. And this is kind of your weekly starter into, man, what I need to be paying attention to before I set my lineups, who are some early targets, value plays, and I'll be also going over my unicorn plays, which is basically that's the number one thing I look for when building my lineups is who are these high floor, high ceiling plays that are going to return value at worst case scenario and help you cash out best case scenario. So also, Austin will be going over some of the over-unders for the games that we have to be targeting based off of Vegas odds and score counts and all kinds of stuff. And more importantly, probably the games to avoid. One of the biggest kind of pitfalls that DFS players can fall into is you load up on players that you might like, but it's just going to be a low-scoring opportunity. So there's lots of things to look into, and we are going to break down all of that. So without further ado, Austin, we got to talk to my man, the Pats fan. You guys trade a fifth-round draft choice for Josh Gordon. Dude, tell me how you feel, man.
I actually like the repercussions if he doesn't finish out the 10 games that they traded for, because then they got to give us, what, a 10th round or a 7th round?
It's a set. Yeah, you get a 7th rounder back. So you gave up a 5th, and it's classic Bill Belichick. Whenever he makes a trade like this, you just got to understand you're doing something wrong. He's doing something right. You're not outsmarting him. Maybe just the idea that they were just going to let him go, but that's not the case. That wasn't going to happen. So fantasy implications. How
do something real quick.
Can he see the field? How long do you think it's going to take him before he gets on the field? Because I don't think he's ready. But his hamstring injury is hilarious in and of itself. If you look at it, he tears his hamstring or pops his hamstring. Didn't tear it, but supposedly there was a pop by trying to race a drone in a hype video. And
they're saying he plays this weekend.
Man, that's crazy to me.
John, real quick. Miss you, Steve. Wish you were here.
Yeah, big time. Steve, our homeboy is down. He is he's got a case of, I don't want to say it on here, but
soft tissue issues.
Yeah, soft tissue in between the nether regions. So Steve, you just take care of what you need to do, man. Just take care of what you need to do. But we would look forward to having you back. So let me ask you this. If Josh Gordon plays this week, which are you going to put him in a lineup?
I might put him in a lineup. He's 5,800 on FanDuel. So, I mean, if I need to punt at wide receiver and I'm trying to stack up some high-end guys, then, Gordon would be good for tournaments or GPP.
Exactly correct. That's what I was going to come out there and say. Somebody like this that has a huge question mark around his health, where he's going to fit in. They do run a very complex system in New England. So you have to think about this. All the wide receivers they brought in over the years, it's not simple, just step in and play. So tournaments only is what I would say. Keep him out of your 50-50s, maybe a couple cash game lineups. That's it. And don't put him in all the lineups. It's not going to go well. But here in about a week or so, we should get some clarification for how he's going to be used. So just be patient on that one. Now, what about LaShawn McCoy? Some new news came out. Apparently, his son's mother, or his baby mama, I believe is referred to. She came out in support of the ex-girlfriend who was saying that LaShawn McCoy had her beat up by one of his friends, so on and so forth, in this attempted robbery. Does this raise any suspicion for you as far as something that will happen this year? Before today, I was willing to say that nothing's going to happen with LaShawn McCoy this year. Again, the Zeke thing took over 18 months to pan out. Do you think that this raises any awareness and brings anything this league year or this calendar year?
I mean, dude, he's playing for Buffalo, and Buffalo's matchup this weekend is probably not a real good one to help him out. So I'm not even sweating it. I'm more worried about his injury, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, his kind of fractured rib. There was reports that it was a broken rib, then a fractured rib, then a bruised rib. So who knows where that's at? And this is kind of what you get used to with LaShawn McCoy. He gets hurt 4 times a game, but he just he toughs it out. He gets back out there. But just something to monitor. It's not going to affect DFS at all, but something that will affect DFS, man, the long-awaited return of the Ginger Man himself, Carson Wentz. They have already come out early and said he will be starting this week. Man, this is fun stuff, right? How you feel?
I kind of like it. I mean, they got a good matchup versus Indy. I mean, a lot of our stacks will come from this game. Probably right now, I got the game. Right now, Vegas has the game predicted at, I'm lying,
47.5 points.
Yeah, 47.5 points. I think I would take the over on that a little bit more. But Wentz is only 6,200. And I don't know, for GPPs, I might try him, but I don't think I'm going to use them this weekend.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And Austin, let me ask you this question. I know we've got some new listeners tuning in on YouTube and whatnot, and we really do appreciate you guys joining us. If you have questions, use that chat box there on the right side. We would love to answer your questions. What is a GPP for the people that play DFS and they're like, I don't know what that means?
It stands for Guaranteed Prize Pool. Basically, it's a tournament where you can do, some tournaments have multiple entries, some have single entry. But basically, they have a prize pool of usually a sand between $3 to $1 million. Also, I mean, there could be 1,000 people, there could be 300,000, there could be 500,000 people all entered into the same one single tournament. So, you know, we talked about this a couple weeks ago when it comes to deciding how you want to spend your money when it comes to GPPs and tournaments. To help our odds and for me to help you as a listener, I always say do the single entries, because unless you're a bad mamma jamma and you're better than I am, then, you know, hey, putting in multiple stacks, you need to come teach me some shit, because I'm very conservative. You need to talk to John over there. He's more of their multi-entry guy.
Yeah, so I always recommend stay out of multi-entry, because what that means is I can submit up to 15, sometimes even up to 150 lineups, and you're just throwing one out there. And I am allowed to play so many different ones that you're going to have to be absolutely perfect just to beat me. So it's much safer, especially if you are just starting out or only been playing for a year or two. Stay with the single entries. And I love how FanDuel has that filtering option. If you're on the website, you can just click single entry and that's all it shows you, which is wonderful. And if you don't know what that is, if you're on FanDuel, next to the price and the prizes, you will see a little M in a gold little gray little circle, and that means multi-entry. So if you see that, just stay away from it. It's not going to be any good for you. So moving on through our news, Joe Mixon, man, ooh, he is out. And here's what's crazy about the NFL this year. These are the top 3 leading rushers in the NFL. Number 1, Matt Breida. Number 2, Joe Mixon. Number 3, Philip Lindsay. And with Joe Mixon going to be out for an extended amount of time, we have 2 undrafted free agents leading the NFL in rushing, just like we all thought. I mean, we totally predicted that on here, right?
Right.
Silence falls over. So, obviously, Giovanni Bernard has to get a huge uptick this week. I am probably going to have him in a handful of lineups, but man, he does have Carolina. And again, yeah, Giovanni Bernard, he doesn't really get his yards up the middle. But what do you think, man? Are you interested in Walton at all?
It's possible. I haven't really even looked his direction, to tell you the truth. Like I said, it's that Carolina. Since he's projected to score 20 points, you know, and Carolina's got a -3 when it comes to the spread. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think if we're going to use anybody out of that game, it's going to be Cam, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's a thing. It's got the makings of something just ugly. Ugh. And this one's not as important as a lot of the other news as far as, huge fantasy assets. But I'll tell you this, we talked about Philip Lindsay. CJ Mosley's he's out. And they have Denver this week. And that run defense, it starts and stops with CJ Mosley. And if he is out, Denver will be susceptible against the run up the middle. We already know how great their pass rush is, one of the tops in the league, definitely top 3. But you take, I said Denver. I was talking about the Baltimore Ravens there. But you take CJ Mosley out, goodness, that there's something to be had there. So just something to think about with either Philip Lindsay or Royce Freeman. One of those guys is going to hit.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. So just pay attention and pick your poison. If you are a person that submits a lot of lineups, I would put, Phillip in one, and then I'd put Freeman in another one that were a tournament play. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to have them out there. Now, Jay Ajayi, he's having major back issues. He left in the middle of the game, came back, but man, this has been around since Boise State days. His knees and his back have been an issue for quite a while. Man, what are you looking at here?
For Jay Ajayi? Oh, shoot. I mean, Clement, honestly, I'm looking at Sproles this week. If Jay Ajayi's out, I think Sproles has a big game. I mean, you're looking at Indy. Like I said, the Eagles versus Indy game. I mean, that one in the Saints Falcons, I think I'm going to own a lot of shares and a lot of exposure in that game. So, I mean, you're going to be able to get Clement cheap. You're going to be able to get here. Let me look him up real quick. Clement is 4,300 on FanDuel, and then you figure Sproles is coming back now too for this week supposedly.
I like Sproles. I like Clement.
It's 44 though. I mean, but you got to think about though. Week 1, Sproles surprised us. I mean, with the game script. Eagles used Sproles more than he did anyone else. They used him more than Ajayi. So
yeah,
Sproles is back. I'm leaning Sproles right now. But maybe for DraftKings, Clement, you're right because of with the PPR format.
Right. And that's the thing. They love to play multiple backs in that situation, and they allow their game script to determine who is going to be out there. And if JHI is gone, who knows, man? And that defense for Indianapolis is a mess. So it's going to be a barn burner. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams throw the ball at least 40 times. It's going to be one of those games that last 4 hours. What it's going to be.
It's going to be goodness for all fantasy footballs.
That's right, man.
We're going to love it because we're just going to watch the points go up.
Ching, 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 ching. It's like a Vegas slot machine, man. That's what that game's going to be. Antonio Brown, holy cow. This is Steelers just can't get out of their own way. Antonio Brown throws a fit in the middle of the game because he had a lot of missed passes go his way. He's throwing a fit. Then an ex-Steelers personnel person tweets out something about how Antonio Brown's not the best or something like that. And then Antonio Brown responds, trade me then. He's not even a current exec, but whatever. Then he misses practice. So you add up all these things, and that makes a huge question mark. I still think that he is fine, but I am not putting him in any lineups until I know for sure he has reported to practice and everything is chilled out and smoothed over. Are you hesitant on him at all?
I think I am hesitant on them altogether. I mean, but they got such a great matchup against Tampa Bay, and right now the points for Pittsburgh is at 20, predicted for 27, which is great for Pittsburgh. The other thing I'm looking at is, if you need to, go over to ESF, the articles page. Clayton talks about picking up James Washington just in case. So just a plug there. But I don't think I'm going to touch Brown unless, like you said, he comes in. But he's 8,800. And I think there's better value for this week. And like I said, we'll get to that later, later this week. So
okay. All right. And then, of course, Mike Wallace, man, he broke his fibula. Yikes. That's not good.
Yeah.
And I mean, somebody's got to play wide receiver out there. They are. It's crazy to think that they're hurting, but man,
they're hurting.
Yeah, they're hurting big time. All right. Let's jump over and real quick. We haven't brought this up yet. we sell our lineups, and they're dirt cheap. They're only $5 a week. We put so much work into these. This is what we do. We have multiple 50. We have at least 2 lineups up for each of the following: 50-50 for DraftKings, 50-50 matchups for FanDuel, 1-versus-1s, cash games, multipliers, tournament games, and pick'ems as well. We put all that out for you, and here's how you get it. You just head over to eatsleepfantasy.com. Click on, we have a huge banner, $5 DFS lineups. That's it. Click on that and hit subscribe. And if you want to go ahead and buy out for the rest of the year, there is still 19 weeks of DFS football to be played. We are only 2 weeks down, 19 weeks all the way through the Super Bowl, which we will continue to put up content. So hit on that, and man, we do all the work for you. So we obviously, if you do go check out those lineups now, we do a Sunday morning live show. It is at 10 Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time for people out here like me in California. And we will update the rosters and kind of let you know, okay, move this person out, move this person in, things like that. So we got you covered. We will take care of you. Let's move on over now. Austin, can you highlight just a few games for us on games to stay away from and or games that we need to be all in on and what to expect?
Okay. I don't have the games to stay away from yet, but right now the games, early this week, and I've already looked at some of the Vegas lines. The ones that stand out with like, oh my God, fantasy goodness. Packers, Redskins, projected score of 46 altogether. Redskins are +3 at home. I mean, this one could go back and forth. I don't know. Smith kind of upset me last week. Speaking of lineups and stuff. Hey, if you listened on Sunday last week and you used one of those goofy lineups at the end I gave you, you would have hit for $80. Can you believe that, John? Hit for $80 on just a crazy throw together lineup there Sunday morning. So,
and I'll tell you this, we haven't hit big so far in weeks 1 and 2, but what we have done is we've been consistent, and it's all about managing your bankroll in a way that's not risky, but still gives you the upside of hitting that big play. That's what we're doing here. So we are always turning our bankroll in a positive way through 50-50 lineups, which are low risk, through one-on-ones, which are low risk, so on and so forth. And then we have the risky plays on the side that we do just a little bit with our profits with the tournament plays. And that's kind of what we do here. And so we have the grind. Austin's the grinder. That's who he is. And I'm a swing for the fences kind of guy. So we mash together.
With our powers combined.
With our powers combined, we can become Captain FanDuel. Oh, that was cheesy, but I'm going to stay with it. It's what it is. So, and always Steve is there just to freaking hammer everything out, the stat head that he is. So what else we got, man? Give us some more games.
Right. So the next one, which is even better than the first one, if you believe that, Saints Falcons. So right now, projected combined score of 50 points, which I would definitely take the over on right now. They got the Falcons at -3 at home. This one, I mean, you're looking at guys like Kamara, you're looking at Breeze, you're looking at Thomas, you're looking at Ginn even. On the Falcons side, you're looking at Julio, you're looking at Matty Ice. I mean, this one is, Calvin Ridley. I mean, there's so much fantasy goodness with this game right now. I mean, like I said, I will definitely have a lot of investment in this game alone. So any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's huge. And you have to be able to say this. The Saints defense and their offense, the way that they are matched up, it is a recipe for high scoring shootout type games. So these two teams do know each other. They're playing, in a dome, which we know what happens whenever Drew Brees is in a dome. So you target these players big time. This is going to be a fun game. It really, really is. I don't think either defense, especially if you look at Atlanta, they lost their middle linebacker and free safety, the two best players on their defense, arguably for the entire year. And now you guys got to go against New Orleans. And even on top of that, their backup free safety was ejected for targeting in the second half. So he's going to be out for the first half next time for that big hit on Cam. So you just got to realize, man, this is going to be a high scoring game this week. So I'm pretty pumped about it, man. And, just a real quick peek into my unicorns, my high ceiling, high floor guys. It's going to be Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is the play right now. He is just so many catches. It's unreal what that guy's putting up. So I'm pretty pumped about this game.
All right. So the next game we're going to talk about is Bears at Arizona. Right now, the projected score is only 37. I would definitely, I could see taking the over on this one. Don't quote me on that until later.
Oof.
But I mean, this is such. I mean, after looking at the Bears defense, I mean I have my eyes on there if I want to, because Bears defense is actually pretty cheap. Bear with me for a second. Bears defense is only 3,500 this week, which surprises me, especially going to Arizona. They got Arizona at +4 at home, so it's not looking good for them.
It doesn't make any sense, man. Because I'll tell you this: Chicago Bears defense won 2 fantasy games for me this week, just for how they embarrassed Russell Wilson and that terrible offensive line. And then you go to Arizona. Here's the thing: Arizona has scored 6 points in 2 games. That is awful.
That's so off on David.
Okay. I don't know, man. This game does scare me. I am 100% taking Chicago here. As long as Sam Bradford is behind this offensive line, I don't think there's any chance that they are going to be putting up lots of points, especially against that defense. Chicago, I'll tell you this: the top 2 defenses in the NFL, Minnesota and Jacksonville, hands down. But I'm telling you this: Chicago is closer to those 2 than they are anybody else behind them. They're kind of inching towards that tier.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of good players on the Bears side. You could grab their tight end. I mean, there's just AR-15, A-Rob. You can grab him. Oh, Howard this week. Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna be big on Howard when it comes to putting together some lineups. So.
Yeah, and I'll say this: a question that I get asked is, what do you play? Do you just play the Sunday main games? Do you just do Thursday? Do you do all day Sunday, even the late games? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. You need to figure out the players that you like, and then you find the time frame that works that, or the slate as they're called, the main slate, the Monday slate, so on and so forth, to manipulate to your strengths. So if there is somebody that's playing, for instance, this Monday night game, we're going to have Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay. That's a 53.5 point over. That is going to be a huge game. So if you want to go heavy on those guys, whenever you're lining up your slate, make sure that you are selecting all games Sunday through Monday. You just got to.
I like splitting up the slate. So
I
talk about that, John. I'll do the main slate. And then if I'm sad faced because nothing hit like I was this weekend, I mean, I feel like I got super lucky playing the late slate to include Monday night, and that probably saved my weekend. So,
yeah, it happens a lot. And one more thing that I think a lot of people don't do: play in at least 1 or 2 qualifiers. If you are a person that's not wanting to throw around a lot of money each week, and you are not necessarily worried, if you're worried about losing the money that you have, don't play. Don't do that. But if you want to play in some of those bigger tournaments, but you don't want to fork out $10 for one lineup in one competition, play in some qualifiers. You can get some great qualifiers for $1. And if you get the best out of 12 lineups, there's so many different options out there. And what you're doing is you're just basically hedging or rolling all of your stuff forward. And man, some of my biggest turnouts last year, kind of my big pot where I pulled in over $1,000 last year, it was a $2 bet originally. It was a $2 bet, and I won a qualifier, and then I won another qualifier, that step 1, step 2 type qualifier, and then I hit big in that one. So it's just little bitty things you're betting with a plan. You're not just clicking things and say, I guess I'll do this, I guess I'll do this. You're constantly managing your risk versus your upside. And if you can mitigate the risk but still maintain that upside, that is where you get paid. Sorry, I went off on a little extreme there.
No, you're good. You're good because it's great info, especially with everyone's new to DFS, especially in the East League fantasy world. So
yeah, well said, man. Do you have one more game for us, Austin, that we could break down?
I do, and it's actually gone up since the last time I checked it. So Minnesota at Buffalo. That to me is just a written. I don't know. That's just juicy. I want so much of this one as well too. I mean, right now we got a combined score of 42, which I definitely think it's going to be a little bit more. And then they got Buffalo at -17 at home. I mean, holy shit.
It was 16.5 earlier today whenever I looked as well. And
Yeah, so it's
so,
already gone up. So
gosh, just to put
yeah.
this into perspective, let me just glance real quick. The next highest spread is 6.5.
Yeah.
So it's twice the next highest game. Buffalo's bad, guys. But Buffalo's so bad, they have players retiring at halftime.
In the middle of the game. That is crazy.
Go home.
Oh, dude, they don't have a running back. They don't have nothing. Their defense is awful. I mean, Kirk Cousins already chucked it last week for I couldn't even tell you how many yards. I don't have that stat, but I just know he was number 3 or 4 for week 2.
Oh, he killed it, man. Yeah.
Oh, he crushed it. You know, he was one of my favorite. And then, you know, you got to think about it. Diggs and Thielen, he put 2 wide receivers in the top 5 last week. You also his tight end was top 15. So, I mean, I'm all over this game. You know, this to me, you know, how I play it safe. This is my safe game. If all else fails, I can come to this game. I can put the players in I want, and I don't have to worry about, man, are these guys going to hit? Because I think the perfect stack right now would be Cousins, Diggs, and Thielen. I mean, if you put those 3 in there right now and just run with it and then just kind of fill in the rest as you go, I think you'll be all right. So,
yeah, I think the worst case scenario is they blow them out so big at halftime that they don't have to play their studs. But if they blew them out, that means they're up by over 21 points, which is 3 touchdowns spread out between those. That's what's going to happen. So that's a worst case scenario. Again,
that's a good defense to play this week too.
Oh, that's a great, yeah, exactly. I mean, anytime you play Minnesota is great. And it's one of those things where I'm just going to be trolling whichever defense plays Buffalo. It's what it is. So
you're absolutely right.
All right, let's jump over now. I want to go through kind of each position and just name 1 or 2 guys, and these are what I call my unicorns. These are high floor, high ceiling guys, and what I mean by that is these are guys, worst case scenario, like Kirk Cousins. Even if they have a bad game and things go poorly, they are still going to produce enough for you they won't cost you a game. And if everything goes right, they can potentially be the highest scoring at their position. So let's start with the quarterback position and 2 guys that I just absolutely adore right off the bat. Tom Brady, he's going for 8,500 on FanDuel. He plays at Detroit. Detroit's defense is not good. Hashtag spoiler alert. It's just rough. And Patrick Mahomes, I think we got to stay with this guy. He's playing San Francisco. He's broken the record for most touchdown passes ever in the first 2 weeks of a season to start off a new team with 10 touchdown passes in 2 weeks. I absolutely love these 2 plays. And again, Patrick Mahomes, 7,500. He's not that expensive. I think he's the 9th most expensive quarterback this week. Yeah, you got to ride with this guy. You got to stay with it. And so a lot of my tournament plays and multipliers are going to have Mahomes. So if you had to pick, I know I shouldn't have said this with Brady in there. If you had to pick between these 2 guys, Brady or Mahomes, who would you choose this week who can score the most out of these 2?
I have no comment this time.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm gonna punt and go. My favorite 2 this week is Breeze and Matt Ryan. So I don't know what you're talking about.
You like the competition game. They're going right at each other. I think
it's going to be a huge freaking game, man. I think it's going to be crazy, you know, how many points is going to be scored during that game. So,
yeah. All right, let's jump over to running backs quickly. And man, again, we talked about just how it's crazy out there right now with who's winning and rushing. And I'm telling you this right now, a lot of people are going to be picking Kareem Hunt this week because they're going up against the 49ers, who have given up a lot of yards in the rushing game. But guess what? Guess who returns this week for the 49ers defense? My man. You don't know. Reuben Foster. Come on, man. No. Reuben Foster is back. And this is huge because whenever we saw last year, He missed several games, but the games he was in there, we did not have one 100-yard rusher, and I think they only allowed a running back to have a touchdown twice out of the 10 games that he started. So understand, Kareem Hunt is not a viable play this week. I just don't see it for the price that he is. But two plays that I absolutely love, Melvin Gordon, even at the Rams. I understand it's the Rams, their defense is whatever, but he is one of those matchup-proof guys because, again, 2 touchdowns receptions. Are you kidding me? This guy can do it running. He can do it passing. He is an outlet in that offense. So if the corners are as good as we think they are, then I think they're going to dump it down to Gordon over and over and over again.
I can see it. I mean, you're not talking out your ass on that one. I'll give you that. So I want to go back to the 49ers real quick since you're my resident 49er guy.
What's up?
You're like all over it and put it all in there. So 49ers, and I just lost my train. Oh, hey, Morris or Breda this weekend? Because I do want a piece of that.
So, who's leading the NFL in rushing? And who's leading in yards after contact with those guys? Morris is viable. Don't get me wrong. Yes. And he got more attempts last week. It was 14 to 11.
And more attempts week 1.
And he got more attempts and fumbled on the goal line. And so what did they do this time? They put what's his name? And Breda got in there on the goal line a few different times. I'm telling you right now, Morris is legit.
Breda didn't hit that 66-yard hit. He would have had a mediocre game.
He still would have had more yards than Morris. Not
much.
10 rushes for 70 yards. He's averaging 7 yards a carry, even if you take away the 66-yarder. Okay, he looks great. People don't understand. He was not invited to the combine, but if he was the year that he came out, he would have tested in the top 3 in 40, vertical, bench press, and broad jump. Like, he is a freak athlete.
This isn't a suck the 49ers dick episode.
I do that every episode. So technically we could say that about every episode. I'm telling you, go Breda. Go Breda.
Go Breda. All right, there you go. I was curious because I do want a piece of that action. So
yeah, no, go get him. And my next one is Christian McCaffrey. I love this guy against the Cincinnati Bengals. He is 7,400, but holy freaking cow, his volume in the passing game is just undeniable. Listen to how many targets do you think he got last week? If you had to guess off the top of your head, whatever you say, it's too low.
Who are we talking about?
Christian McCaffrey. How many passing targets did he get?
He had 27.
He's had 24 on the year. He had 15 targets for 14 receptions at 102 yards. Man, and he gets to go against an easier defense with Cincinnati this week.
I like McCaffrey.
I just like guys that I know are going to be safe and won't hurt my lineup, but could go off and be one of the top scorers. So he is my I guess, I don't know. I call them unicorns. They make me feel comfortable. They help me sleep at night. Do you have any running backs that you are thinking could be the number 1 overall scorer and that are safe?
This week, safe. I mean, I know I said Kamara was safe last week and was let down, but I'm going to go back to that against Atlanta. I think Kamara is safe. Hey, I like Howard. Howard is safe this week, in my opinion. Tevin Coleman is safe, or even Chris Thompson is safe this week. I love me
some Chris Thompson, man. He's my value play big time.
And then, in the words of Steven, if Dalvin Cook is out, like if he's actually injured, I like some Latavius and Lamar Miller this week.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, Lamar Miller against the Giants. I mean, you got to see what Elliott did.
Yeah, why not? And I'll tell you this, Lamar Miller is looking better than he ever has before, averaging 4.9 yards per carry. He's looking good. The problem is they're falling behind in games, and they have to throw so stinking much. Right. If they could just stay on schedule and not have turnovers early, Lamar Miller could be a huge play.
I think they'll stay with the Giants, though, this week.
Yeah,
I mean,
Giants
it's the Giants. Rough, man.
They scored 2 touchdowns this year.
Dude, I cannot wait to see some of the gifs from Eli's face yesterday.
They're stuck in like instant disappointment mode.
Oh, yeah. Because I think with the defense, with Houston's defense, I mean, which is something you could use this week. I mean, Miller's 6,700. I do like Chris Thompson a little better, though, at 6,500. I mean, he's against Green Bay, and Green Bay doesn't have the most prolific defense out there. So
no, they don't. They got some young corners I really, really like, but yeah, it's interesting. Okay,
hey, can you believe Fournette is 7,700 this week?
He's pretty cheap if he plays. If he
Yeah.
plays, man,
Against
I'm telling you
Tennessee.
right now, I like it. I like Fournette.
Yeah.
I like Fournette more than I'm supposed to. All right, let's jump over to wide receiver. A couple unicorn plays, high floor, high ceiling. Number one, you got to go with basically the number one wide receiver in fantasy right now, Michael Thomas. This guy, it's just unreal how many targets he catches. And he has like a 90% catch rate. He catches everything, and they're not like they're simple passes, but this kid is special. 13 targets for 12 catches against Cleveland. That's special. So I'm going to stay with him. We've talked about this game ad nauseum, but for a reason. The kid is special and just has something with Drew Brees. So I'm staying with him. And then my other play, this is an interesting one. Golden Tate. Love me some Golden Tate against your boys, the New England Patriots. I think this is just going to be, they're going to throw the ball like crazy, and Tate is a target monster. He's not going to see Stephon Gilmore out of the slot. He's going to get the rookie out there. I'm pretty pumped about this.
Dude, are you saying Tate is like the number one option for the Lions right now?
I could say they are throwing it all over the place, but the volume in which they are throwing it, because that terrible defense, I could see them falling behind, and they're going to keep doing exactly what they have been doing, and that is just throwing the ball like crazy.
And what's Belichick's favorite thing to do? Take away your number one option?
Yeah, you can't really say that anymore. I get you. That's what he is known for doing, but I don't think that he's going to put Gilmore over the slot. I don't think that's what they're going to do.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he's not going to, they're not going to do that.
And so they're going to be targeting on the outside guys, Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay. And I'm telling you right now, 15 targets for Tate in week 1, 13 targets for Tate in week 2. And I just really do believe that he's got a chance to go over 100 and a touchdown. And it's just a super safe play that this could be one of those sneaky plays that's super cheap. And he's not going to cost you your game. I guarantee you that. He will put up value. I love him. I like me some Tate.
Can I throw out some of my wide receivers now?
Let's do it.
All right. So one thing I learned about last week, and I don't know, I know you kind of don't agree, but you kind of do agree. But running backs let us down last week, man. And we're talking only 3 running backs hit over 100 yards. I mean, out of the pool of running backs out there, you're talking the Zekes, you're talking the Barkleys, Saquon, you're talking everyone out there. And then you're talking guys like Tevin Coleman got over 100 yards. So I think this week I'm going to try some out. I think I'm going to go high-end wide receiver and pay up for the big receivers. So like you said, I'm going with the Thomases, the Julios. I'm going Diggs, Thielen, Devontae Adams. I'm not touching anything of freaking Keenan Allen, unfortunately. I do love him a lot.
Stay away.
Oh, yeah. A T.Y. Hilton is a good one this week.
I like T.Y.
Boyd, if you're trying to save some money. Geronimo Allison, if you're trying to save some money. Dude, Brandon Cooks this week. I mean, we saw what the Rams did last week. They made 3 good wide receivers out of, come to fruition. So I like them next week. I mean, Allen Robinson is going to be good this week. I don't know about Denver. I still haven't come to terms as far as if I'm going to play. DT let me down, but I do love some Sanders. Sanders has been.
He had a rough week too, man.
He did. No, actually did pretty good. He
came through at the end. I was pretty upset during the game.
Don't worry.
I said some curses on his name.
But for like going cheap and some sneaky guys, dude, I'm looking at Boyd. I don't like the matchup that well, but I think Boyd, if AJ Green's covered a lot, then Boyd could get a lot of those targets. And then, hey, here's one, the Eagles. So we just talked about the Eagles receiving core. Who is their wide receiver 3?
The Eagles, it's their that new guy. What's his name? He came up and played like 20 snaps. Dang it, I know his name. Help me out.
Kamar Aiken.
Oh,
4,500
for a long time. Then he went to Indianapolis.
4,500. Dude, he could be that guy. I mean, he could be the one to like last week it was Callaway saved us some money last week, and then the week before, I can't think off the top of my head, but I know we had some sneaky snags in week 1 that kind of helped us out. But I think Kamar Aiken, we're talking early now, he could be the one. He could be the sneaky snag. I just don't know what kind of, with Wentz coming back, I don't know. They could backfire too.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, 33 touchdowns last year. He was on pace for about 40. It was pretty impressive before he went down. But I like those plays, man. And that's the thing. Mixing value with these huge upside plays is the secret.
I got one more GPP, man. I got one more. I think Tyreek Hill, runs back a touchdown as well this week too. So
it's scary.
I think Hill would be a good one.
Who's it going to be every week though, right? It was Kelsey. I love Hill. That kid's talented. And, I mean, he didn't get very many targets, but he made them work.
Dude, you got to play Hill every single week with Mahomes in. You got to. You have to. And then with him running stuff back, I mean, if you used him in week 1, you double dipped. And I think they could definitely double dip this week.
Yeah, I think you're right. Having them in a lineup, that ceiling is just too much. You can't ignore it. Can't do it. All right, let's jump over to the last position of the day. Let's go tight end. Couple tight end plays that I just adore. Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is not Zach Ertz without his mighty red ginger quarterback. And if Carson Wentz is back, Zach Ertz is the man. Against Indianapolis, which their defense is absolutely terrible anyway, they have the big kind of slow plodding linebackers that just can't match up with Ertz. Love me some Zach Ertz this week. And then I got to say it. Rob Gronkowski, I get it. I know he costs so much, but he's still got to be a factor in this offense. Detroit gave up a touchdown to the tight end last week. There's no reason why they can't do it again.
Dude, I'm looking. I don't even freaking see Gronk's price right now. Hold on.
8,100.
8,100.
It is up there.
Yeah.
I will have him in a few lineups, though. I will. He hurt us last week, but
I don't think I will. I think I'm leaning this week. I think because I want to pay up for running back, and I definitely want to pay up for wide receiver. I think I'm leaning more like Trey Burton. I
like Jared Cook at Miami. Miami does not do well with the tight end position. Yeah. He's 5,000. I will have him in a few lineups again, but the tight end position's interesting because this is a big philosophical difference. If I can find usually this is how it goes. If I can find one super cheap running back and one super cheap wide receiver that I feel confident on their floor, kind of get like Quincy Enunwa last week. I love me some Quincy Enunwa, man, and he should have had a touchdown on top of that. If I can get what?
He hurt me last week, man. I expected more out of him.
He still had 7 catches. Like
I know. I guess I'll be greedy.
Like yeah, and that is the thing. So 7 catches, 70 yards. You got to be happy with that. If this is like your low run guy that lets you put guys like Gronk into your lineup, but you add in 8 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown, then you're hitting tournament plays there. But so something to pay attention to. Again, if I can get a cheap running back and wide receiver, I'll pay up a little bit for a quarterback or a tight end. I try to do that with at least one of my lineups each week.
Yeah, I mean, Rudolph this week, Kelsey this week. Hey, so are you sold on Will Dissly? I mean, he's actually the guy that made me my money last night. So, I mean, I kind of want to try him out. I mean, he's 4,600 on FanDuel. So,
I'll say this: the targets aren't there, and I am a huge volume play kind of guy. But Russell Wilson throws touchdowns, and people like Tyler Lockett and Will Dissly, I don't think they're dependable because eventually they're going to leave you with a giant goose egg.
Eventually, but hasn't yet.
But with this price that they're at and back-to-back games with a touchdown, you got to think about it. But again, I would much rather go with somebody this week like a Jack Doyle that I have projected to get 8 targets.
I hope he crushes Ebron. I'm so sick of hearing about Ebron.
If people that follow snap counts and people that follow targets, you'll understand there's a return to the mean or the average for guys like Ebron. And I mean, they are running packages for him in the end zone, so he's going to be a high touchdown guy. But again, I tend to favor guys that are heavy volume. That's just kind of my philosophy.
Are we going to be able to rely on your guy Kittle this week or not?
Yeah, he had 2 drop passes last week, which were rough, and one of them went for a big gain. Yeah, I mean, they're playing against Kansas City. Kansas City's been pretty stout against the tight end, but Kittle is the number one target for Jimmy Garoppolo in the red zone, and it's not close. So the touchdown upside is there, the volume is there, but I don't like this matchup particularly against.
Really? Because I'm looking at a couple sites, and right now they got Kansas City is ranked 31st against the tight end. That's the only reason he popped up on my radar.
I think that was last year's rankings. I don't think that was this year's. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think this is going to be an aired out game, which should say all right. But again, like you said, Jimmy Garoppolo threw a touchdown to the tight end last week. It just wasn't him. It was Garrett Selleck. And so, a couple drop passes and 2 games in a row. I don't know. I don't know. They even kept Kittle in to block on 2 plays in the red zone, and I was losing my mind. So I don't know. I'd pump the brakes a little bit. That's just what I want to see it before I play him, because I played him last week and it burned me. So
yeah,
should have paid out last week. Any guys that you any other tight ends that you're looking at?
Not really, man. I think, like you said, most likely I'm either gonna pay up, or the cheapest I'm gonna go. Who did I say? Trey Burton is probably the lowest I'll go right now. I mean, I Austin Hooper pops up, but I mean, he's just not there yet for me when I consider being safe. And right now, at the price of 5,700 on FanDuel, Trey Burton is safe.
Yep. Yeah, well said. Targets are there, and they're using him appropriately after that first week. So awesome. Well, that will do it for Austin.
No defenses?
No, let's don't do defenses. If you want to break them down real quick, who you got? Who are you targeting?
I think I'm going to pay up for Minnesota and the Rams this week. I mean, well, not the Rams. Sorry, the Eagles. So Minnesota and Eagles. I mean, you're looking at 4,900 and 4,400. I mean, they got some great games. And then, oh, my bad. Forgot about Chicago. Chicago is the cheapest defense I would probably feel safe at, and it's 4,300 against Arizona, and Arizona didn't put up no points last week. So
6 points total this year, so that's definitely not optimal.
No.
I love riding hot defenses against poor offensive lines and quarterbacks that turn the ball over. And when you play Buffalo, it checks every one of those boxes, and Arizona is the next up on the list. So, Austin, anything else, buddy?
I miss you, Steve.
I miss you, Steve, as well. So, guys, head over to Eat Sleep Fantasy. Click on that $5 DFS lineup button and go ahead and hit subscribe, and we will be taking care of you. Again, we play all those lineups as well, so we put our money where our mouth is. And make sure to check back Sunday. We will have a live updates show at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. For you Pacific peoples out there. Austin, where can all the wonderful people find you on Twitter?
All right, on Twitter, it's AUSTN37. AUSTN37.
All right, and you can find me at JL_Chapman. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us, and we will talk to you guys soon. Peace.